So today we're going to go over to Psalms 69. We're still talking about the book that we found in Genesis chapter 32, where Moses said, if you're going to blot the rest of Israel out, you blot me out of your book too. And God said, those who have sinned against me, I'm going to blot them out of the book. And as I said yesterday, this is the first indication that we have in Scripture that God does have a book. And discussing the question of who is in the book. And I said, well, what's more important is who has been blotted out of the book. So we come to Psalm 69, and here we find in this chapter of the Psalms, the psalmist is talking about the crucifixion of Christ, and he's prophetic. And then he begins to talk about those who were involved in the crucifixion, including Judas. And we find that he says, verse 28, chapter 69 of the Psalms, let them be blotted out of the book of the living and not be written with the righteous. Now, this brings in a new question here, because he's specifically saying that this book is a book of the righteous. And again, I'm saying, well, how did they get their name in the book? Is it a situation to where everybody who's ever been born is in the book until they get blotted out? Or is it God making a list of the righteous? And how did God determine that they were righteous when the Scripture says there are none righteous? No, not one. And so I'm a naturally curious person. And so when I come across these things, that I just have a desire to want to know. But I also know this: there's a lot of things that has to do with Scripture and has to do with man's relationship with God that I don't understand and that I'll never understand. And to add to that, the longer I live and the more I inquire and the more I become curious, the more I come to understand how much more I don't understand and comprehend. I know that in this wonderful radio audience that God has blessed me with, and this broadcast goes all over the world, that there are many of you who are theologians, and you know a whole lot more than I do. And you probably have answers to a lot of my questions. But the number one question in my mind is in the book of life, that obviously Scripture tells us that God has a book. My number one question is, will you find Pastor Jack King, Tallahassee, Florida, is his name written in the book? That's my main concern in my life. And I plan to live my life in such a manner that I know that it's there. That's very, very important to me, and I hope that it's important to you as well. This is Pastor Jack King with the gospel on the radio broadcast.